Hey everybody, hope you're doing great. Today I wanted to issue a little bit of a warning about the truckers convoy. Today I want to talk about a little bit about messaging. I want to talk about infiltration and about upcoming investigations that I hate to say that we all kind of know are probably going to happen, but I want to talk about that a little bit. If you guys have any comments below, let me know. I'm going to try to watch for them on the system over here. Hope you guys are doing great. Regarding messaging, you know, from a 30,000 foot view, I agree obviously with the concept here of freedom and of the people standing up, rising up, and telling our elected representatives that they are public servants, that they work for us, and letting them know that, damn it, freedom's important. You know what I'm saying? It's so important to do that, and I love the fact that they're doing that and organizing. Now, there's so many different convoys from what I understand, and a lot of different organizers. It's going to be like herding cats a little bit. It's going to be a little bit hard to do. But from a messaging standpoint, from a high level, hey, we believe in freedom. I wrote a whole book about it. By the way, today's video is sponsored by I Believe in Freedom, Don't You? Go to believeinfreedom.us. To pick up my latest book, because what I talk about in the book really is about perspective and about messaging and about passing on the message of freedom and liberty and trying to explain it to the next generation, which is super, super important. And a lot of people, I don't know, kind of get it wrong to a degree, right? They I don't know if they really explain it that well. And from a messaging standpoint and a perspective standpoint, it's super important. Here's what I mean. I'm looking at the peoplesconvoy.org. It's one of the trucks. I think they left, was it yesterday? Yeah, they left yesterday. 6 mile long, I heard. I saw these different reports. 6 mile long convoy. God bless them. It is super, super important that each of them stick to the message. They've got to stick to the message. We all know how the game is played. I remember back in the Tea Party days, we'd have a Tea Party event, and here's what we're talking about. We're the Tea Party. We believe in constitutionally limited government, free markets, and fiscal responsibility. Those are the three tenets of the Tea Party movement back in the day. And if you were there to talk about anything else other than those three things, then you weren't part of what we were doing. But the media would always go find the kook. The media would always go find the crazy guy, the guy who really wanted a lot of attention, and he was ranting and raving about something else that didn't have anything to do with those things. And then all of a sudden, everybody there gets tainted with that guy's message. It wasn't the official message. So it's going to be super easy to distract. Yeah, okay, Ukraine, Russia, that's a little bit of a distraction. It's taken away from the messaging and the attention that the People's Convoy and all these others that are going on different routes that are using. So it's going to distract from that. But their messaging on the peoplesconvoy.org says it's time to end the declaration of national emergency concerning the COVID-19 pandemic and restore our nation's constitution. I get the point. I completely understand the point. And it's a good point, okay? But I'm concerned that the perspective is a little bit off. They say it's time to end the declaration of national emergency and restore our nation's constitution. The point, again, is right. It's great. But the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And we've had judges all across the country, local, state judges. I don't know if the federal's really done I don't know if the Supreme Court's really done a good job at that. But all these judges across the country, if you look in their decisions, they've been saying you can't suspend the Constitution. The Constitution, Article 6, says it's the supreme law of the land. The second part of the Fifth Amendment applying to the federal government, and the 14th Amendment with very similar language or exact language applying to the states, says no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So you can't call somebody essential and they're not essential, equal protection violation. You can't shut that business down. Look, Home Depot sells the exact same thing as a mom and pop. Home Depot can stay open, but they can't stay open. You can't do that. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Perspective matters. We're not asking them, we're not telling them to end the Declaration. We're saying the Declaration was unconstitutional to begin with. It never should have happened. We're not asking them to restore our nation's Constitution. The Constitution is the Constitution. It's there. They all swore an oath to protect and defend it. We're not asking them to restore it. It's super important in messaging. The pandemic's over. It's over. Mandates are over. Declaration of the national emergency stuff is over. It never should have been implemented in the first place. We're not asking the government to unmask our kids. We're saying they're not going to be masked. They never should have been masked to begin with. We're not asking you to unmask our kids, right? You guys see the nuance there, the difference there? The fact of the matter is our rights come from God, not man. Declaration of Independence recognizes that we are endowed by our Creator with unalienable rights, unalienable. They can't be taken away, and they can't be given away. They're yours naturally. And among the whole list of all of our natural God-given rights, are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, is what they said in the Declaration. So, actually the very next line says, and to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. The reason why governments were created is to protect our rights, not to hand them out as they see fit, not to call somebody essential or not essential. That's not their job. And if you look in the Constitution, which is the enacting of that, those statements there, that's how we the people, guys, look, I believe in freedom, don't you? I break all this stuff down. I look at the hierarchy in there. God, man, local government, state government, and the far-off federal government with very limited jurisdiction and involvement of our lives. That's how the hierarchy is supposed to go. But I still hear people say, our leaders in Washington. I still hear people refer to our country as a democracy. Messaging is key. We are not a democracy. Messaging is so important in this. And we know, getting on to my second point, we know that there's going to be infiltrators. January 6th was a successful operation by them. Now, whether it was purposely done as January 6th or whether it was never let a crisis or an event go to waste or an opportunity, whether it was by the feds, right? Ray-ups. Whether it was by actual feds inciting the violence or whether it was Antifa, because I remember watching that live. I'm watching on the different channels, or even, especially C-SPAN, because there's nobody commenting on it. Watching the people walk through the ropes in the rotunda, but outside there's these guys who look exactly like Antifa, wearing black with the helmets, black backpacks, and they get the different tools and they use the exact same tactics. So it was an infiltration, and then they whether it was done purposely by Pelosi and her Capitol Hill police folks, goons, I don't know, but we'll probably find out someday. But they didn't let that crisis go to waste or that event go to waste, and now they issue these investigations, and anybody who had geotagged with their phone that even offered support. So I'm looking at the truckers' convoys. They're going across the country. Canada proved that their emergency declaration for that froze people's assets. Kevin Langley says, stand up to the tyranny of the morality. Yes. Remind Brandon who he works for. Remind Brandon what day it is. That's let's start there. Like, what is it? Anyways, you're going to get me started, Kevin. Good to see you, Linda. I see you guys on the live stream here. From a messaging standpoint, it's crucial. We know from the infiltrators, it'll be so easy. 6-mile long convoy of trucks, whether they go into DC or not. The center of problem is not DC. It's all over the country. And from a constitutional standpoint, we're not telling them and asking them to restore the Constitution. It's still the supreme law of the land. Anyways, we know it would be so easy to infiltrate that. It takes one truck to drive up onto the National Mall to do some damage, and the entire thing will be tainted. And in fact, every organization that helps them and offers them food and water along the way, or gas or donations, will be investigated for the next several years, because it'll be worse than January 6th, which is a day that'll live in. They made it. They over-exaggerated it, right? It's worse than 9/11. It's worse than Pearl Harbor. insurrection in our times and all this kind of stuff. Well, imagine a massive convoy across the country and something happens and they do this investigation, this emergency declaration, they freeze people's assets, and anybody involved is investigated. And I'm not saying not to do it. I'm saying you got to be aware of that. I'm not saying to cower down because of those threats. I'm saying that you need to be aware of the risk and to keep your head in a swivel, to watch out for these infiltrators, get stuff on video when you know when people are not following the exact messaging and they're a little bit off. We saw that when we went to DC a number of times a decade ago. We're out there outside the Capitol building. We're doing our we're doing a little peaceful protest, whatever. And there's these guys that come along chanting the same things we are, but they're a little bit more aggressive. And I know some of you watching this probably remember that. I remember that very specifically. These guys are chanting a little bit more aggressively. I think what they were doing was trying to recruit, trying to see, who's gonna buy into this, with us, to get things amped up a little bit. And I remember talking to the Capitol Police at the time, and the one guy says, "Oh yeah, he's here all the time. He's here for every protest." These guys are professional provocateurs that are in DC. They go to all the events. They chant like you do, and they're just provocateurs trying to get people amped up. It would be so easy. So anyways, I just wanted to issue a little bit of a warning to the truckers, the convoys, and everybody involved. The key is to stay on message, watch out for infiltrators, and understand that they're not going to let this event go to waste, and to be safe out there. God bless you guys for standing up for liberty for the next generation. If you guys have any questions about any of this content, check out believeinfreedom.us. Check out my latest book, How to Talk with Family and Friends About Liberty. Because as Reagan says, if we lose freedom here, there's no place